Hi everyone, it's me, John Lorden, and welcome to another edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. Today we are talking about the case of Leah Roberts, and this is actually a cold case. She disappeared way back in 2000, and she actually got a bit of press coverage. It was featured on a few different shows, including Larry King Live, so it's definitely got some big coverage around this case. However, as usual, that bright light of mainstream media has veered far off this case long ago, and when I went looking for information on it for recent developments, there's not a whole lot. That being said, it is a very compelling case. Leah is still missing, and we're not sure if it's of her own accord or if something else might have happened. We're going to talk about a few theories around that have popped up in terms of some of the investigation that they've done on this case. So let's get started. Once again, we're starting with the profile at charleyproject.org. And we can see some pictures here of Leah, and we've got all the vital information. She's been missing since March 2000 from Whatcom County, Washington. This is an endangered missing classification. She was born July 23rd, 1976. She was 23 years old at the time she went missing. I'm pretty sure, yeah, this year would be her 40th birthday in July. Her height and weight, 5'6", 130 pounds. Distinguishing characteristics: she's a Caucasian female, sandy blonde hair, blue eyes. Roberts has a surgical scar on her right hip. She has a metal rod inside the entire length of her femur as a result of previous injuries sustained in an automobile accident. Roberts has a beauty mark above the upper corner of her right lip. Her ears are pierced and she has dimples. Roberts is a vegetarian and she smokes cigarettes. She has a strong Southern accent and speaks fluent Spanish. Her clothing and jewelry description at the time of her disappearance: 14-karat gold earrings with 0.3 carat ruby stones and 3 rings on her right hand, including a 14-karat white gold ring set with 0.45 carat emerald cut diamond flanked by 2 0.07 carat baguette diamonds. We're going to jump to the Wikipedia article here to start cracking into this case a bit. It seems kind of like a straightforward missing person case, but then you'll see it takes a bit of a strange turn later on. And outside of all that, we have kind of almost it's weird to call it a beautiful occurrence, but it's beautiful whenever people get together to try to help someone like this. We're going to touch on that at the very end of this story, kind of a light at the end of the tunnel here. On March 18, 2000, joggers along a road near the Mount Baker Highway in Whatcom County, Washington, United States, reported a wrecked vehicle at the bottom of an embankment near Canyon Creek, a tributary of the North Fork and the Nooksack River. Deputy sheriffs found a white 1993 Jeep Cherokee with North Carolina license plates. They traced the car to Leah Roberts, who had abruptly left her home in Durham, North Carolina 9 days earlier. A gas station attendant in nearby Everett, Washington, called police claiming to have seen her there, disoriented, shortly after the car was found. She has otherwise remained missing. I'm not sure if that tidbit about the gas station attendant is accurate. From other information that I've reviewed on this, it was a phone call to police from someone that saw her at a gas station. I don't know that they were an attendant, and the phone call ended abruptly when the person became nervous, and from what I understand, they have not been able to track that person down. If it was a gas station attendant, I'm pretty sure they'd be easy to track down, so I don't know if that tidbit is accurate there. In the years preceding Roberts' disappearance, both of her parents had died, and she herself had survived serious injury from a car accident. Her friends and siblings say that this had left her pondering spiritual issues and questioning the direction of her life. She had dropped out of North Carolina State University on the verge of graduation and had begun spending much of her time in local coffee houses, writing poetry in her journal that dealt with the issues she was pondering. So as you can see, pretty hard shake in life, losing both of her parents very early on and very close to these tragedies that happen. Having a horrible car accident where she basically shatters her femur, has to have surgery, then they put in a metal rod to essentially keep it together for her. It's a pretty hard shake, and unfortunately I wish that was the end of the hard shakes in this story. Just to give you some insight into Whatcom County, I wasn't familiar with it, but here on the map from Wikipedia we can see it is very close to the border of Canada. And back to the Charley project, near the bottom of their article here, just to give us some insight. There are several theories as to what may have happened to Roberts. Investigators believe that she may have headed towards Mount Baker Highway after her accident and was possibly picked up by a passing motorist. She may have suffered injuries during the wreck and could have been disoriented, as the witness stated, as a result of her condition. Some people have speculated that an unknown individual was driving Roberts' vehicle at the time of the accident and that foul play may have been involved in her disappearance. There is little evidence to support any theory regarding her whereabouts. Extensive searches of the area around her wreck provided few clues in her disappearance. Roberts was a soccer player during her college years. Her case remains unsolved. It's true that, from what I've seen, that there are very few clues from the area of the wreckage. However, I'm not convinced that the area of her Jeep wreck is tied to what happened to her. I believe that the Jeep was possibly wrecked by someone else, and she might have already been possibly abducted, or something else could have happened to her prior to that event. So I don't know if them looking for clues in that immediate area would prove to be very fruitful. Let's review the reasons why I think that. So we're going to jump back over. Before we jump back over to the Wikipedia article, also worth noting here in the source information, we can see her case was also featured on Unsolved Mysteries. She has a bunch of different profiles, and I went to this Find Leah Roberts website. I was hoping that it was going to be some type of family-run website or something, but unfortunately findleah.org is no longer available, and you know, that's kind of what happens. Seems like what happens in these cases is eventually these resources and this information just starts to disappear, and that's why you and I are sitting here with the Searchlight and hopefully bringing some new awareness to this case. So back to the Wikipedia article. Her sister Kara and brother Heath flew to Bellingham to assist investigators. They visited the crash site and with the assistance of the sheriff's office created a flyer which they posted around town. They went into businesses that Leah may have visited and queried owners and customers. Among Leah's belongings, they found a box of mementos from the trip which provided a clue that established more clearly where Leah had arrived in Whatcom County. A ticket stub from a March 13th afternoon showing of American Beauty at the theaters in Bellingham's Bellis Fair shopping mall. This suggested she might have killed a few hours in the city after arriving at the beginning of the day following the 5 to 6 hour drive from where she had bought gas in Oregon. Near the theater was the mall's only sit-down restaurant where Heath and Kara believe Leah may have gone for a meal. Police were led to 2 customers, both men, who not only recalled Leah but sat on opposite sides of her at the restaurant's counter that day talking about Jack Kerouac, who was a favorite author of hers and part of the inspiration for her taking this road trip in particular. One of the men claimed she had left with a third, whom she called Barry, and provided a description for a police sketch of the man. However, neither the other man nor any other customer who had been in the restaurant at the time that the police could locate could corroborate Barry's existence. So one guy in the restaurant is telling a story about a third guy being there, but no one else can corroborate that that third person ever existed. Kind of makes the first guy look suspicious. Let's see if there's more information on that. After the initial investigation was concluded, Kara told the Whatcom Sheriff's Office to keep Leah's car in case more clues turned up years later. This decision bore fruit in 2006 when Mark Joseph, the detective who had originally invested the case, passed his files on to 2 younger detectives. Reviewing the Leah Roberts case, one noticed that the car and its contents had not been fully processed for evidence when it was originally brought in. The 2 decided to finish that job. No one had looked under the Jeep's hood, so they pried it open. Underneath, they found that a wire to the starter relay had been cut. This would have allowed the car to accelerate without anyone depressing the gas pedal, confirming early suspicions that no one had been in the car when it was driven off the road, and thus it had been purposefully wrecked. They found a fingerprint under the hood and some male DNA on an article of Leah's clothing. This led them back to the man who claimed that Leah left the Bellis Fair restaurant with the third man she called Barry, whom only that second man had reported seeing. That man had also worked as a mechanic and had a military background, further raising the detective's suspicions. He had also moved to Canada in the interim, complicating and lengthening an effort to get fingerprints and DNA from him. By the time that Investigation Discovery aired an episode on the case in 2011, the fingerprint turned out to not be a match, but detectives were still waiting on the DNA sample. Now, I did some searching. I cannot find any update on the DNA sample, so I don't know what the conclusion was there. I'm assuming that if they had found a match in the DNA, that there would have been a news story posted about that and about bringing that guy in back from Canada. So I pretty much have to go with the evidence that we're being presented here. It really seems to me like someone else, probably a male, wired the car in a specific way so that it would go driving in a particular direction, and it crashed because of that. Was Leah in the car at the time? I don't think so. Other parts of the Wikipedia article, which I highly suggest you read, and as usual, I will have all of the links in the description box below. This is a very lengthy Wikipedia article, and just the twists and turns keep coming at you in it. But the car was found with blankets and pillows kind of filling in, I guess, where the windows had broken. So it seems like someone used it for shelter after it had crashed for a while. But among the stuff they found was cat food for, it appears that she took her kitten with her. They found the cat carrier, but they didn't find the cat. There is no blood inside the vehicle, no evidence that anyone was injured inside the vehicle, such as the seat belt being stretched or any type of spider fractures in the glass, nothing of that sort. And they found valuables that belonged to Leah. I believe they found her checkbook, her driver's license, a pair of pants that had $2,500 in one of the pockets, and a ring that supposedly belonged to her mother that her friends say she would have not taken off ever, and that was found under one of the mats in the car. So I'm not sure, it doesn't feel like a robbery because all of these material items are still at the scene. Is there potentially some other crime that happened to her and then her Jeep was taken and this was done to it? That's kind of where I'm leaning, but it's very hard to say. Because she has a metal rod in her leg, they are able to use metal detectors to search for her. But unfortunately, as I mentioned previously, I think they're looking in the wrong area because I don't think what happened to her at the scene of the crash. I think it's probably another crime scene. It could be miles away from that crash site. So I'm hoping that someday someone might help find Leah and bring her home. Obviously, there is some potential that maybe she was in the crash. Someone was in that vehicle after it had crashed. So maybe she could be disoriented or have some severe form of amnesia or something along that effect. But this has been a very long time. And I'm hopeful that with all the exposure that was given to her, I think someone might have been able to put those pieces together and bring her home if she was still out there. But you never know. You really never know. And that's why we have to keep that little candle of hope lit and share this information and hope someday that someone that has other info about this case or maybe knows something about that crash or has heard someone talk about being a participant in what happened around this case with Leah might step forward and share that information with the proper authorities and help bring this case to a close. And hopefully give her family some peace. She's got a brother and sister that are obviously in huge pain after losing their parents and now losing one of their siblings. So, where's that beacon of light you were talking about, John? Well, let's take a look at a little news here from North Carolina, News 14.
Leah Roberts is the inspiration for the annual Road to Remember tour.
We do have hope that someday we'll have answers to her disappearance.
Kara Roberts helps plan the trip to honor her sister. Leah Roberts left Durham in March of 2000. The NC State student set out on a soul-searching road trip shortly after both of her parents died. She did not tell friends or family where she was going. But 9 days after she left, investigators found her wrecked, abandoned car on a logging trail near Mount Baker, Washington.
I think that if Leah was alive and well and mental capacity to be able to be here, I think she would.
Investigators know from debit card purchases Roberts' route, but they don't know exactly what happened to her. Some suspect foul play. There's even been recent DNA evidence suggesting someone might have tampered with her car before the crash.
I guess evidence would suggest that she ran into foul play, but really don't, I mean, it's like all the clues just disappear there in Washington on the mountain with her car.
Roberts remains missing. To help shine a light on the case, Monica Kaysen, founder of the Q Center for Missing Persons, decided to retrace Roberts' route. So in 2004, she set out on a grueling 14-day trip to bring attention to the case. That tradition continues.
You're just overwhelmed because there's always so many families there. There's always so many experiences that you're going to have just within that hour or two stop. There'll be people coming up that you don't even know about their cases saying, hey, I heard about this, can you help me?
The road tour profile.
So, Monica Kaysen, this sounds like a pretty amazing person to me. I did just a little searching and found the Q website, which is at ncmissingpersons.org. You can see here they have a profile on Leah, all of her critical information, pretty much confirming the same stuff we saw on the Charley project is in here, as well as details of her disappearance. And if you check the About page on this website, you will learn about Q and Monica Kaysen here, who outside of doing extraordinary things like that road trip, which not only raised awareness to Leah's case, but they raised awareness to 60 additional people that are also missing while they were doing that trip. That amazes me. Monica does not get paid for this work. This is a volunteer passion of hers, and I think it is wonderful that she spends her time doing this. She was touched very early in life by a few different families that had family members that went missing, and this inspired her to do this work, which I think is just awesome. Awesome. She seems like a very special person, and I'm happy to help hopefully promote ncmissingpersons.org. So if you are looking to donate to a cause or something, take a look here. And let me just also hit this list right below. They offer free services. They help train professionals for search and recovery units. They provide long-term care and victim support for families. They help complete the casework and research of missing person cases, provide national and local missing person campaigns, canvass by foot. They put teams together with canine, aircraft, water teams, boat, kayak, ski jets, raft, divers, mounted horse units, ATV, ground support. It goes on and on and on. And I know that they can't do that without some help. They have links over here for justgive.org. Here you can volunteer, donate, and they've got apparently a top rating for nonprofits for 2015 by Great Nonprofits. Very, very cool. You can also donate via PayPal here. So I was just inspired at the work of Monica in particular, and I hope that she continues her amazing quest to raise awareness to this and other cases, and that some of these cases get solved and give some of these families much needed relief. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of BrainScratch. Like I said, all the links are below, including contact information. Take care, everyone, and I'll catch you next time on the Geek and Dorks channel.